Hello! I want to talk to you about how do you show up in your business? How do you share your message? How do you do the marketing that you want to do and the getting out there and talking to people that you want to do when you're just not feeling it? And if it's anything that I've learned in my time as an entrepreneur, there are times you're just not feeling it, right? We all go through these ups and downs in our lives, and it might be something that's happening in your personal life where you're just feeling like not yourself. You know, certainly I'm someone that's like normally like a million watts and really shiny and bright, and so when I'm not feeling that way, it's really noticeable for me. And it's interesting because even as I'm diving into this video this morning, I can sense into it only because this week actually was a week that I got sick, and so I was not feeling it in that way. I actually ended up still sharing on Instagram stories and stuff and sharing, but it goes to show that like if something emotional is happening in your life, if you are not feeling well, or if you're just in this time of like total transition and total what I call this like uncomfortable metamorphosis. So if you're in the process of some part of you is evolving and growing, some part of you is in this shift, kind of like trying to figure it out. Sometimes you have to go into the cocoon and this uncomfortable metamorphosis. So there's actually this process between the caterpillar and the butterfly, which actually is where literally the cells become this, they come what are called imaginal cells, and it's literally goo. So the caterpillar literally becomes this goo for a little while. It's completely unrecognizable to itself, so much so that its kind of old story, its old knowing of what it was starts trying to fight off these new cells. It has no clue what's going on, and so it actually starts freaking out and starts trying to like fight off and kill this new thing that's trying to develop into. So it's really a fascinating process in that I think we all can relate to that at some times, where there's this old part of us or this old story that is trying to, die off, or we're trying to let go of, or we're going through this uncomfortable metamorphosis, knowing that that old story or that old part of us is not serving us. And yet we are so scared of what's to come. We don't know maybe this new version of ourselves, or we don't know how we're going to make money with this new version of ourselves, or if people are going to like us or love us with this new version. And so it can feel really, really scary. And we do that same thing where we almost start fighting this new part. And what happens in the interim, and this isn't the only reason for the cocoon, and I'll get to that in a second, but what can happen in the interim is a lot of resistance, and we can actually find ourselves really fighting, like I said, fighting this new piece and fighting this new way of being, and that resistance, or even just going into that cocoon of like, who am I and what am I even doing? I have experienced this myself, and I have clients all the time that are like, what am I even doing? Like, what is this business? And you literally almost forget who you are for a little while when you're on this path, because you're on the path of becoming. You're like kind of busting open into something new. Something else is like wanting to come forth and evolve into and out of you and through you. And the whole process can be like, it just can feel crazy, and it can feel really scary, or just at times where it feels really overwhelming and intense, however you might describe it, right? We kind of have our own ways of describing it. So the piece I want to get to is just really recognizing that so much of this process, you being persistent on your creative path, you being someone that is continually dedicated to showing up for what like, even through those tough times, what is your calling. You know it's worth staying in this. Like, you're not going to stop and get a job. Like, you're not going to, you might think about how attractive that sounds, but then you think twice about it and you're like, no, that's ridiculous. But that ultimately, you know that this is your path, and you know that you need to ride these waves, right? And so really the key and invitation here in these times when you're just feeling this like, oh, who am I? And you feel like curling up in a ball and just hiding or hermiting, or, you know, questioning like the entire fabric of reality, or, you know, the starting to hate on like all that social media is, or email is, or whatever's feeling overwhelming. You just want to make that the bad guy, and you want to just, you know, go off the grid and not have to be part of any of it, right? So all these times that you might just be in this resistance of what is the first step in all of this is acceptance. The first step is just being with that feeling that is where you are, because so often we're actually just beating ourselves up, right? There's, whether it's conscious or subliminal, there's most often this voice that is literally going, what's the matter with you? Why can't you pull your shit together? You know, you're never going to be successful if you keep acting like this. Or, you know, like whatever the messages are, right? There's so many. And so really just noticing, what are the messages and the tapes that are playing? How much are you just fully allowing yourself to be where you are? Or if you are in this place where you're noticing that you run these ups and downs, how can you integrate systems into your life that support you to take a break sometimes and not have to be on all the time? And that can be where you batch some posts so that you're still showing up, even though you really, really need to take a break. And then that way, when you are taking that break, or when you are in that kind of like recluse, hermity, curled up in a ball, like can't deal with the world place, which you clearly need, or you wouldn't be there. You know, you clearly need maybe to fill your well again, or just take a step back. You may, and most often, if you have been there before, you know that it gives you actually so much perspective. Whether that, you just needed some downtime and you needed to refill your well, or you needed to, whatever that is, or something to really notice is where you might even actually be finding yourself on a pattern where you, like your own, upper limit pattern might be that you have to take yourself down in order to lift yourself back up. And it's really, really a valuable pattern to recognize. In fact, entrepreneurs, it's said, and I thought this was fascinating when I heard it, it is said that entrepreneurs often had chaotic childhoods at some point, which I think is fascinating because I kind of had a chaotic childhood. So the question is, how much are you still creating chaos in your adult life, even though you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business and you're such a badass? How much are you actually still creating patterns of chaos in your adult life, mimicking what you experienced when you were young? This is actually drama, right? Where you might actually just be experiencing drama in some way, shape, or form, whether it be in your finances, in your emotional life, with your relationships, with your co-founders or your partners, or even in your own relationship to yourself and your work, which can come back into self-worth issues, not enough issues, right? So really looking at, where are you upper limiting yourself? What's the pattern that you might be like in on this loop, where you can start recognizing like, oh, I'm here again. I'm in this place where I'm taking, you might be taking yourself through a whole I'm not like hermiting time where you go into this cocoon, which again, this is not an invitation to judge it. It's just an invitation to notice it. And this is the part where you can just ignite that witness. And if anything, just start tracking it. This is what I call like being a really curious anthropologist through these times, where you are just trying to notice, like, oh, isn't that interesting? You know, isn't that interesting that here I am again, and that this is what my path is? And if you're a woman, you might want to track this to your cycle. Even if you're a man, you actually might want to track it to the moon cycle, because the moon cycle affects all of us. And just really recognizing what your own patterns are. And even tracking in general can be helpful, because you can kind of see what are the things that derail you. You know, is it relationships? Is it finances? You know, if you don't know what that consciously is, that kind of can maybe send you on these paths. So just trying to bring some awareness to them, and trying to bring some, then also once you have awareness, you can then meet it with compassion. Which is a great first step as well. You don't even have to have the awareness. You can just say, oh, I heard Willa talk about this. I think I'm in, you know, one of those cocoon times, and that this is your invitation to just be really compassionate and understanding and curious with that time and what's happening, right? And knowing that this too shall pass, and that where you are right now and the feelings that you're feeling, the cocoon, first of all, is happening for a reason, in the sense that, again, even if it's trying to wake you up, it's trying to say, hey, I could really use some downtime right now. If it's trying to say, I really need to pull back and get some perspective right now, I actually do need to cocoon to kind of work through this evolution, maybe the physical embodiment even of this evolution, so that you can come out stronger, you know, so that you can actually spread your wings on the other side. And it also may even just be that you, that this might be a way that you are getting support in some way. And that can, so for example, if you find yourself like getting down, or you know, having these times where you're literally doing this roller coaster where you actually, your mood goes down, or you get depressed, or you freak out, and that you actually then draw some support that way, maybe from your family or a partner. And the one piece you can look at there, just to notice, again, like nothing wrong with this, but really just noticing, is this a part of you, or a behavior pattern of yours, to actually get and receive love? And, you know, how is your own self-care if in fact you are kind of taking yourself so far down in order to actually get some sympathy and some love and some compassion? And that can be a little bit of a nice flag for you to recognize that you could use a little bit more sympathy and self-care and compassion, even when you're up here, even when you're not all the way down there, right? So in your day-to-day, how can you bring in some compassion and some more ease and flow, and just some allowing? You know, there's a mantra that I've probably shared here at some point, but I'll share it again today, which is allow, allow, allow. Like, how can you just be in this flow, and even when you are not feeling it, and even when you're just feeling like you don't want to hermit up and you don't want to share, how can you just allow that to be what it is? How can you love it to be what it is? And it's some beautiful, beautiful work when you can come into this place of allowing yourself to be who you are, allowing yourself to be where you are. And that is all your own relationship with yourself, your beautiful, healthy, loving relationship with yourself. And what that does is it helps create self-trust and your own relationship with yourself, your own compassion with yourself, your own allowing and patience and love with yourself, even when you're not feeling it. Then that is where you can create a lot of self-trust. And self-trust is the key to so much. Because when you are in your fullest power, you know, when you're not operating from some of these other personas, you know, like one that I share sometimes is like the whip cracker. I used to have this whip cracker all the time that I worked with for a long time as the one that was like, you don't have time to eat, you don't have time to even get up and go to the bathroom, you've got work to do. And it was like really dead set is like this inner critic, this lizard brain that was so dead set on making sure I was working so hard all the time that nothing else mattered. And ultimately then you can actually have a relationship with this inner critic and with this part of you that's actually not serving you, and really come into recognizing like, okay, I realize that you're trying to help me, and I realize you're trying to make sure that I'm getting to work and that I'm not going to starve and that I am going to do it, and that's fine. But when you come back to essence and your essence and your truth, and you're standing in your power, you're standing in your own beautiful relationship with yourself and self-trust, there's so much power in this place that this is then where you actually, this is the beauty of knowing, right? And when you create this beautiful relationship with your own knowing and your own self, you are in that place of allowing, because you're going, hey, no problem. I recognize this before. You know, you're getting to know yourself so well that you say, I've been here before. I'm not dying. Like, things are not going to come crashing down, you know, and recognizing that this is all, that it's okay where you're at, and that you can give yourself some love and compassion. In fact, you can show up even better for yourself, right? Because you can say, oh, I've been here before, and what I really need most in this time is for me to give myself some love and some compassion and some acceptance of like, this is just where you are right now, and this too shall pass, and that this cocoon or your break is refilling your well. And self-trust, where self-trust comes in right here, is when you create this relationship with yourself, your lizard brain wants to think, oh my God, you're going to lose momentum. You're never going to get back to work if you think you're going to stay in bed all day, or you're never going to get back to work if you just like cocoon and hide, or you're going to start, you know, stop like losing this momentum, or you're going to lose clients, or it just wants to like start going nuts. And it's just all not true, and it's not serving you. And when you come back into this relationship with your self-trust, and you instead make it actually enjoyable. Like, so if you spend that whole time when you're just out of it, you spend that whole time, you know, fighting it or in resistance or beating yourself up, none of that is actually helping. Like, your body, your life, something that's going on in your own evolution is telling you, you need a break. You need some downtime. And so I call this like the fierce mama bear, is how can you actually show up on behalf of yourself as like a fierce mama bear and literally go, oh, like, you know, even I'm just going to exaggerate it, but just be like, oh, like, baby, it's okay, you know, like, I want to take care of you. You literally like kind of ignite this like inner mother, right? There's this wise self, and you can actually ignite whatever in your life that you want. You might have mom stuff, dad stuff, like they were maybe never there for you. You can actually like create your own like inner mother, like healthy inner mother and healthy inner father that just comes in and says, I got you, baby girl, it's okay, or, you know, I got you, kiddo, or it's all right, you know, and just like really nurture this part of yourself that might really need that like nurturing. You do, because if you're in that spot, some part of you is needing nurturing or is needing, you know, I will sometimes like ignite this inner father. I didn't have a dad growing up, and so I actually created this like inner father character that was like, you have got this. I believe in you. I know you are so strong. Like, I know you are so amazing, right? It was like, I never had the dad that was like on the sidelines, like rooting me on at the game. Now I do. I developed my own. And so these are some really beautiful ways for you to give yourself this love and compassion and patience, and really be with yourself while you're in that time of cocoon, or while you're in that time of just needing to set things down. And it's amazing how much power comes from that space, because it's from that space that you're able to then ask for help, because you're not in resistance anymore. You're not trying to hide. You're not having this shame of how you're feeling. Instead, you're in acceptance with how you're feeling, which means you can show up better on behalf of yourself. You can then say, this is how I'm feeling right now, and I need your help. you know, I'm in this place right now. And you don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't have to share the details with anyone, but you can also just say, you know, I'm going through something right now and I need some time away and I would really love your help, you know, doing this and this and this. Or I'm needing to take a little bit of a break and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to help me take care of this and this and this, right? So you can call in support. So when you're no longer fighting it, you're no longer beating yourself up, that's going to give yourself more power to be able to really call in that support, not only from yourself, right? And maybe from the like inner father, inner wise self, like something that you can really do to take care of yourself, but also to be then able to reach out to other people to call in that support, because you're no longer in that resistance and instead you can just own it, right? As one of my girlfriends posted the other day, she said, like, own the shit, like own it and admit it, you know? And what that does is it helps peel off the layers of shame. And it helps peel off the layers that you should be all it is shoulding, right? You should be doing this, you should be doing this. And actually, guess what? You're not feeling it. So own that and be with it and love it and accept it. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you stop being in that resistance, that is what you may have heard me call like shortening the recovery time. So many people, many clients I know, and I certainly have in my past, where you're going into these dark times may be like a week, right? Or even longer. But then you can start watching, how can you start shortening that recovery time to where, you know, literally a week, maybe it is only, you know, 3 days, maybe it's 2 days, maybe it's 1 day, maybe it's an afternoon. Right? And again, no judgment, because you need to really stay with your own process. And it's not like, why the hell are you not out of this fast enough, right? But really, really recognizing how you can actually shorten that recovery time, and you being there on behalf of yourself, fully allowing yourself to be in it, really, really listening to what's going on with you. Journaling can be really, really powerful. Talking to someone, if you have a coach that you can speak to and receive support. Even, I actually have a video about this and I'll link to it in the comments, which is, I have a video that's all about walking you through actually a series of processes when you're just like inquiries, when you're just like wanting to like fight with the world and just wanting to like check out and you just don't want to do any of it. And there's a really beautiful process that I walk you through that helps you just get it out and see it. And in there I talk about how powerful it is actually to record a video. And whether you share that live or not, what it does is it helps you get in touch with what you know to be true. And so writing can do the same thing. You can actually do some self-coaching through writing. But if you are a video person at all, or you're willing to step out into that realm, it can be a really powerful process for you to witness your own wisdom that's coming through. Because while your physical body might be totally sidelined and really going through its own, you know, uncomfortable metamorphosis and transformation, your consciousness, your wise self within, it knows all that's going on, right? And so your invitation, even in that dark time, is to allow yourself to still hear that wise self and still be in relationship with yourself, because you're still there. I would love your likes and your hearts and any shares that you have. And if you missed the beginning of this, please go back and watch it. There's some really beautiful, beautiful insights in here. And this is, if I could share, you know, there's the greatest question of like, you know, if you could share anything, or if you could teach the world anything, or if you could gift the world with anything, what would it be? And mine is compassion. Compassion first and foremost for the self, and then most, you know, that then allows you, it gives you, when you feel that well and you've got this compassion, then that is what goes up and over, and it gives you the ability to be able to give love and compassion to others. So, which is hopefully what you're feeling here. All my love for you. Thank you for being here. Mwah. Love you too. Have a wonderful day.